There is none. Hey, you know me. I like Warhammer. And let's look at this video, Warhammer's gender problem with an open mind. First thing I have to point out though, never put your face online. I always hate that, and I don't understand people that do it. I understand you want to be a celebrity, but it ain't worth it, my dude. Anonymity trumps everything. So let's begin with this, shall we?
Running franchises change over time. It's a fact of life.
Depends how they change, bro. Depends how they change. That's also an interesting aspect. Because if we look at Star Wars changed for the worse. Others, maybe for the better. Some for the worse. So it depends on a case-by-case basis how the change really affects things.
Star Wars in 2024 is damn near unrecognizable in comparison to Star Wars in 2004.
Yeah, the 2004 version was better. Cry as you might about the prequels, they were better.
Which is damn near unrecognizable in comparison to Star Wars in 1977.
Okay. It's clear that Lucas changed his mind a little, but I guess that was a good change from the original trilogy to the prequels. What happened after he sold to Disney? Oh, that's just a shame.
If you told child me in the early 2000s that Anakin Skywalker's best friends were a Togruta Padawan and a clone trooper that kinda looks like Eminem, I would look at you like...
How did you get looks like Eminem out of Captain Rex? Huh? Okay. I'm already starting to have doubts about this video being any good. The fact that it's 50 minutes and talks about about Warhammer's gender problem was a pretty good indicator that it's not gonna be a good video.
Like you had just grown eye stalks out of your forehead. But that was the premise of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the medium by which we would receive some of the best Star Wars stories ever told, like The Shadow over Umbara or The Siege of Mandalore. But just not Ghosts of Mortis. We don't we don't talk about that one. And Warhammer 40k is much the same. Almost everything you like about the setting, whether it be your favorite chapter of...
That's the image they use for the Shadow Guard. Yeah, that's what Lexicanum uses for the Shadow Guard. This elite warrior units of Raven Guard. Pretty cool idea, pretty cool. Decided to paint some black just because of that. It's funny how many black factions you have in 40k. Just black color, that's it.
Space Marine's color scheme or your favorite named character is almost certainly, in some way, the consequence of a retcon.
No. I'm a Blood Angels fan. They butcher Blood Angels, sorry. Is it true? New Warhammer sucks. I think Blood Angels, from my knowledge, were always red. I know I'm being the actual guy, but it doesn't really matter. I guess we're gonna have to deal with the Rogue Trader argument against 40k. Because, boy, I swear, I've heard that stuff so many times, I'm getting sick of it.
Do you like Chief Librarian Tigurius of the Ultramarines and his sick should be painted on the side of a van banner? Well, then you have retcons to thank for that. Because
these people always have a problem, and I'm gonna point it out now because later in the video it might come up again. It's the idea that they can't understand story progression. They can't understand how a story evolves. He talked about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and that gets pretty episodic at certain points, but it does have a storyline progression through a few episodes. These people don't seem able to tell when the story progresses and moves on, which is kind of funny because they seem to understand that in movies but are not capable of understanding it in 40k's lore, that yes, things will the plot will move forward. That's why we're not stuck in the same constant battlefield all the time, though Warhammer Fantasy is better because it's just stuck there.
Because, as all true lore purists know, the actual Chief Librarian of the Ultramarines, as per the Rogue Trader rulebook...
Of course, Rogue Trader, of course, it's always a dumb argument about Rogue Trader. Why is it always Rogue Trader with you people? Because here's the funny thing, Rogue Trader had a bunch of stuff in it. Of course, we're gonna ignore the fact that everybody was a Rogue Trader fan once he came out, and if everybody was a Rogue Trader fan, you would expect them for it to be called Rogue Trader nowadays, not Warhammer 40k. But that's a different story. It's always Rogue Trader, which doesn't make sense. That's like comparing aspects of Warcraft 1 to World of Warcraft nowadays. Sure, there are elements that are still there, but you have to understand that at the time that thing was made, the lore wasn't that well established. Even Milton and his previous genius, which has fallen over time, of course, as that happens to all people, really wasn't that big on the lore thing until like the second iteration. Much in the same way, Warhammer really got to solidify elements proper in third edition. Bring out Rogue Trader is just stupid.
Book is the half Eldar space marine Ilian Nastase.
Ilian Nastasia, that's a Romanian name, please don't butcher it. Though you people don't really care about butchering stuff. That's why you're making this video. The thing with that one is, we do have Ilian Nastasia. He appears in the Dark Imperium books. So he's not really out. He's not really gone forever. But yeah, this is a stupid argument. He's not half Eldar in that one, but he does interact with an Eldar in the Dark Imperium trilogy. I think it was God's Blight? I think so. Yeah, God's Blight. No, I don't remember which book right this hour. But yeah, he does appear in that book, so he's not out of the lore. The fact that change again comes back to the solidification of the lore. Always happens. Look at the, what was it called? Game of Thrones. George R. R. Martin's whole spiel, where the things weren't really solidified until like third or fourth book, because he just wanted to have like a trilogy, and then he got the Miranese knot, or the Marine knot, whatever, the Miranese knot, where he just had to go to Marine with Daenerys. So yeah, that doesn't really matter that much.
Who also briefly served as an astropath for the Dark Angels, because why not? Sure. See,
I mean, that's a pretty cool lore aspect, especially when you consider, what was the game? Dawn of War has a very good thing in Dawn of War 2, where they like, I think it's the final mission where, the original, the base game, it's in the final mission where the Blood Angels are coming in, but all their astropaths keep dying, and they have to use librarians, and those keep dying to reach your units and help you fight against the Tyranids. So yeah, that's a thing that can happen, which is pretty cool. We should see more of that. Again, this Rogue Trader argument still doesn't make sense.
The point I'm making is that these minor retcons that do add up over time are an inevitable part of any long-running franchise, as individual creatives and writers pick up and then put down the project.
Here's something that will blow your mind off. Retcons are stupid. Retcons should happen just and only in the worst of cases. It shouldn't be something that's normal. It shouldn't have been normal for League of Legends, World of Warcraft, and the film stories nowadays. What's up with that, man, though? Whatever. So, as I'm saying, retcons shouldn't really happen that way. But again, it's understandable when your product doesn't really have a baseline idea of the story it wants to tell, and it takes some time to get there. Doesn't matter. And also, small retcons do happen because people are stupid. They retcon, what was it, the Dark Imperium? Or the Dark Crusade, whatever. It wasn't Dark Crusade, it was the Helus, whatever. Thing where they changed like the years it happened. But that matters. They could have let it like that and nothing would have happened. Nevertheless. Again, not that big of a deal. And again, Rogue Trader is a bad argument. Boy, do I repeat myself a lot.
On the way, they're either putting their own personal flair on a pre-established setting,
which is stupid and they shouldn't do in the first place. Especially if it's a pre-established setting. The best way to look at this is look at Dawncer in Warcraft. Fuck Dawncer. I'm being direct with you. Fuck Dawncer. He made it all about his fetish for Sylvanas. And what was it? Well, like a whole expansion. And then he had that other abortion of expansion called Dragonfly that changed nothing. That's a proof that writers shouldn't imprint themselves on already established things. No, keep to it proper.
Or actively working to modernize it.
Modernization is like such a stupid thing, especially when you have old things. Like imagine trying to make Conan or Elric of Melniboné and modernize them. Like in a way, Elric goes through this with Julian Bardot's, I think that's his name, with his comic book series that I've made a summary of. But it's still stupid. But it works in Elric's case because it's almost a complete retelling of what happens. Modernization just doesn't work for a simple fact. What's modern now will not be modern in, what, a year? 6 months from now, probably. 5 years, if we're generous. So it doesn't really work. That means your whole fucking ideas and whole story has to get modernized, like, what, every 5 years to include a new thing? What, are we gonna talk about the Rizzler in the next codex? Book for Space Marines, or the next rule book? The Rizzler, Gyatz, and other stupid stuff like that. So no, modernization is a bad idea. Much in the same way as putting memes in your translations. Look at Trunks, for example. They really want to have Trunks be this cool kid that uses slang, the slang of the time, but that just makes the games age poorly. Very poorly. Especially when you have references to memes most people weren't even born to know that happens. So modernization is a bad idea because you will never keep up with what's modern. The best solution is to make something that is a timeless classic. And it's easy to do if you try to avoid modern topics. But not all people do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up this video with the apparently controversial opinion that most retcons are not actually commanded from on high by them.
I understand that's a Jew reference. I don't understand why he had to make it. What, is this an insinuation that Warhammer has a Nazi problem? I don't really know what to tell you. It's kind of stupid. But what am I expecting? This might have well have been like a live stream, the way I'm taking it.
One of the major reasons why a franchise might change like this is in recognition of the fact that a group of people that isn't highly represented within the fiction itself make up a significant portion of the fiction's audience.
Yes, like Romanians. But Romanians never really get properly represented into anything. We either get Russian accents in Hollywood or nothing. But hey, I heard that the Romanian... It's not even Romanian because he's born in America. What was the name? The Winter Soldier guy's gonna play Donald Trump. Not sure Donald Trump is the proper Romanian representation out there, but what can you do? Yeah, no, this argument is stupid because... We're gonna get to it.
This, in particular, has been happening all over the tabletop games industry for the last decade or two, give or take.
Oh, the whole tabletop industry. What do you mean? You mean stuff like Magic the Gathering? Do you mean stuff like, what is it? Catan? Fucking hate Catan. Or Monopoly or other things like that. Because here's the most interesting aspect. I've seen that the most people into board games are women. Like, board games seem to be specifically made for women. There are some that are for more neurotic men. But that's really about it. Most of them are made for women. Yeah, I don't know. Let's continue.
A new generation of tabletop gamers are now old enough to be the dictators of culture.
Unfortunately. Because if there's people like you, I would rather just burn the whole thing down. Like, at this point, I wouldn't bat an eye if all tabletop gaming... What does that even imply? I hate the idea of this mystical tabletop gaming thing like it means anything. Because most people will just think about, I guess, Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer. Because I swear nobody thinks about things like Call of Cthulhu or... What was the other one I liked? I don't remember. So this whole idea of the tabletop industry is just stupid. Because people never really refer to things, because Magic is also tabletop if you think about it. Because most people play Magic in person. Same as Flesh and Blood, the Pokemon TCG, and I could go on with a bunch of other card games. But that's not what people really refer to, right? They don't always think about card games, though card games are part of that industry. No, it's just a stupid concept that I hate. Much like I hate the word geopolitics. But that's a story for another time.
And overwhelmingly, this new generation is
stupid. Very stupid. So stupid they start eating Tide Pods. So excuse me, I don't want people that eat Tide Pods to have any say into anything. Now I'm gonna get into why I hate democracy, but that's again a story for a different issue. Or different video.
Significantly more tolerant and diverse than
less tolerant, way less tolerant. Yeah, no, I've seen what people do when they find women that don't agree with them, that they send death threats, and they use that Japanese chick that died horrifically in was essentially probably one of the worst I don't even know what to call it, worst human crimes in history. I think that kind of fits. It's funny that happens in Japan by the kids of Communist Party members. But that's a different story. Yeah, but people will use that as, oh, I hope what happens to her happens to you, threats to other women that don't agree with them. Don't preach tolerance if you can't accept diverse ideas, because that's like the funniest thing ever. People always talk about tolerance this and tolerance that, but all the time they are getting less and less tolerant than older generations. Oh, but Jim Crow and stuff. Yeah, and now try to be a black conservative. Try to be a woman that doesn't agree with stuff. And you'll see how the other side is really tolerant of you. Oh boy. It just doesn't work. But what do I know? I'm an old soul.
Previous ones. Tabletop role-playing and wargaming is no longer the singular domain of guys built like Matt Colville. And the...
Okay, you know, I don't agree with this guy. This guy hates me. We probably wishes the worst for me. But that's a good joke. And again, I do hate most people. So, yeah, I can probably get a joke that like that.
The most popular games within the medium are the ones who've made changes.
Oh, by the way, since I got too caught up in the joke and forgot to talk about this. No, these are pretty much still the domain of men. As I've said, board games, yeah, they attract more women. Because they're fun and whatever, and they're quick and so on. Once you get into something that's more complex, that's has more rules, you will find that, well, that doesn't attract women in general. For example, war games have more rules, they're more complex than your regular Catan match. Fuck Catan. And because of that, not many women are interested in it. There might be women interested in painting, of course, that's normal. Might be interested in making minis, might be interested in, changing minis, modifying them, doing their own kit bashes and conversions. But not that many women are into the wargaming aspect of it. Now, this is true that most people try to act like, oh, that doesn't happen, but you can probably see it. You can see it. If you go out, you will see that there are certain things that are still made for men, but we're trying to pretend like, oh, women are just an equal part of Warhammer as men are. No, there's more men into it. Yeah, sure, there are some women that are into it, playing as well as painting, but yeah, there's more men. And it will always be more men. The same way knitting has men in it. Yeah, the knitting community has men, but it's mostly women that knit. Okay, there's just certain things that remain biologically true. Some men are more focused on some hobbies, women on others. And that's pretty normal. To act like it's an equal distribution and balance, that's just stupid.
To reflect this growing diversity within the community. Problematic writing that was previously...
I knew he was gonna say it, but it just sounds so stupid out of his mouth. It sounds disturbing. Problematic. Well, what's problematic? Let's see.
Established canon is now being revised.
Revised? How do people make it? It's like, God, I'm only 33 minutes in, it's been like 20 minutes. Boy, do I hate this guy. Boy, do I have a lot to say. Yeah, no, the film stories is stupid. Some things should never be changed. I don't think I can finish this. It just annoys me so much. The arguments are so stupid and so overused. I just don't think I can finish it. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Now that the groups of people for whom that writing is problematic against are now sitting at the table. Or
Doesn't matter, still there. Or not sitting. Oh, no, excuse me. That group of people that the writing is problematic for shouldn't really be at the table to begin with, but that's a different issue. No, again, as I said, no.
Or, often more accurately, were always sitting at the table, but now just have a better means of making their voices.
No, they weren't. This is so stupid. Like, I've talked about this already. It's stupid to pretend like women were always part of something. Some, yeah. But you know why generalizations are a thing? Because they apply to a whole larger group. There are exceptions to that group, but everybody understands that. Everybody over 80. Hopefully. Okay, over 90, because you have to be a little bit closer to 100 than, 90 to understand that. But just because something doesn't apply to the rule doesn't mean the rule doesn't fit. To pretend it always was like this is stupid.
Is collectively heard through the power of the internet.
Normies on the internet was like the biggest mistake ever. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. The internet being accessible to boomers and normies and stuff like that was a big mistake. The fact that I have to share space with people, share internet space, I guess, with people like this is a mistake. But you can't put back the genie in the bottle.
The thing you're watching this on. This is happening in D&D.
No, pre-5 edition Drawlor is pretty good. Matriarchal and all that stuff. It's pretty good, in fact. And hey, there was a good story with that Drizzle guy. I think, was it Drizzle? I am bad with names nowadays. But yeah, it told a pretty good story with that guy because it was, he was the only good one of his race, which shows the possibility of growth, improvement, and being more than what your race is. And again, it keeps the exception to the rule that enforces the rule, that makes it stronger. And that's what your character could have been. But no, we have to pretend like it's so bad. Oh, please make the argument that orcs are black people. Please make the argument that orcs are black people. That would be so funny.
In Magic the Gathering.
Invoke Prejudice. That's a nice card. like people just get way too offended. Like, I was on Scryerfall to make some proxies for, what was it? For the alpha set. And I found this card that was like, oh, this is inappropriate and so on. It was changed. And it was Crusade. It was just basically knights with crosses on them. I'm supposed to think that's offensive nowadays. Give me a break. And you see, the funny thing is that if you view things only from an American context, it makes sense to get offended at everything. And I'm kind of sick of the American centrism thing. I think America should lose its soft power status and status as a world power and stuff like that. But then you have to deal with the fact that the void left by America is going to be filled by something else, and it's going to be worse. Oh yeah, look, I have a wrestling video. I think that's going to be more interesting. Oh, it's an hour.
And even more explicitly in entirely new properties, like Age of Sigmar or Gloomhaven.
Age of Sigmar sucks, lore-wise. Mini-wise, they beat the 40k. I give you that. Nowadays, the way they butchered the Blood Angels, yeah.
The White Wolf rulebooks from the early 2000s would exclusively refer to the players using she/her pronouns, specifically to challenge the idea that only men play TTRPG.
Yeah, and they've challenged it so good that most of the major players for White Wolf games are, guess what? Men. They're still men. Let's just ignore all what you see on YouTube. Normal groups are made out of men. And here's the thing. Most of them will be men, because attracts men. Women are there just for the roleplay parts, just to play silly characters that drink blood or whatever. And that's if we exclude the mage. Mage the Ascension, like the only Mage the Ascension player is just, I don't know, throwing dice at his head, drinking glue or something. Who the hell plays Mage the Ascension? That's a different story.
RPGs. Pathfinder uses a really clever system where the pronouns the player is referred to changes depending on the iconic character of the class they're playing at.
Pathfinder is stupid if it does that. That just sounds stupid as hell. Okay, so they use different pronouns depending on the iconic character that the class you're playing and stuff, right? How is that normal? How is that not stupid? Because it really feels stupid as hell. Oh, you just gonna do this. Oh, it's so smart. Nah, that just feels like you're overcompensating for stuff. What do you hide in that closet? What skeletons do you have there?
This effectively completely ambiguates the gender of the person actually playing the game, and instead describes rules in reference to the iconic character doing them.
Again, that's stupid because it takes you out of the whole thing. Because you know it's gonna refer to Lyadrin of Kill Me right now, then your character Saint Jose. Stupid. Like, it's better to just use you at that point. You do this, this helps you do that. Rather than try to do the whole, oh, we're gonna use the pronouns of that. God, that's so stupid. But tabletop RPGs are pretty much suck nowadays. Except Castle and Crusaders. Go get that. And that's the name of it.
So, why then has it taken Warhammer 40k seemingly so long to catch up with the rest of the pack?
Because the rest of the pack is stupid. And Games Workshop is getting stupid now too. But I guess that happens once BlackRock is your investor.
It's an interesting question, and one that's going to take a long time to answer. As we speak, 40% of the playable factions within 40k are 100% male.
Wait, say that again?
The playable factions within 40k are 100% male. And of that 40%, 100% of those factions are different variations.
Yes. That's what sells. Sorry to say it to you, that's what sells. That's what most men are attracted to. That's what most men buy. Space Marines. Sure, there are people that buy Tau for some reason. People that buy Eldar, which is understandable if you hate your life and hate yourself and want to express that through a war game, sure. That's what most men buy. Of
Astartes. Would you be surprised if I told you this was actually an improvement? GW has a very complicated history with producing female miniatures and including female representation within their settings.
No, they don't. They don't. Do you know anything about characters? There have been so many of them. Should we start with the War of the Beast? Where one of the most important characters there is a female Inquisitor? Representative Inquisitor, whatever.
A history so complicated, it would probably require its own video.
No, it doesn't, because it's not complicated at all. Just want to make it complicated. God, you look like a pig like that. That's why you don't put your face on the internet. Because you're going to have bad moments like this. And it's better for you not to show your face. Not only because anonymity is king and you want to remain anonymous in your life. Because it's better to keep your online life and your real life separated. But also because most people really don't look like they should be out there. Like, not everybody's going to look like a movie star. And you're going to have moments like this. Where you look like a pig. Like a pig at a trout. And that's a bad luck. You don't want to do that. Again, never post your face online. Simple as. Also, what's with people always drinking stuff like that? From, oh, it's a big cup with a plastic straw in it. I have no problem with plastic straws. I like plastic straws. I have a bunch of them at home. I hope a bunch of seagulls get them.
Well, I mean, shit, since we're already here.
Yes, I spent like 30 minutes rambling about stuff. Huh. Let's just move. Let's just skip the intro because there's like... Why would you spend this much time on the intro? And I think he has outfit changes during it. Like he has this weird furry wife beater. Jeans at the store and the boss. Oh yeah, the jeans at the argument. There's this weird shirt. Like, I don't care about the argument, because the argument is stupid. It's like 50 minutes of wasting your time talking about, oh, rogue trader and stuff like that. I'm just here to see his outfit. Yeah, another wife beater. Huh. So many wife beaters. I wonder if that's indicative of something. I'm just joking. What? I think it's another furry one. My mistake is that another furry one. Yeah, that's like an opossum gang. Yeah, it's an opossum distress there. Never put your face online. You end up like this guy. Especially if you make dumb arguments. Yeah, I don't know. I spent like 6 minutes of this, 30 minutes talking, and at the end of the day, I have no desire to go through his arguments. His arguments are gonna be stupid. I think I've seen them 100 times. 50 minutes. This is gonna take like 2 hours to talk about. I'm not really that willing. So I think I'm just gonna end it here. Just gonna lay here. Probably watch some wrestling after this. You know what? Screw it. Let's go through... Let's skip the intro and go through here first.
You can also tell I'm trans because my background wallpaper is fucking ultra kill. God damn it,
What? No, it's white.
I'm a stereotype.
This one time, I spiked an infant into a field goal.
Space Marines can't be female.
Once I punted a gnome. It was very funny. I punted a gnome so hard, I sent him back to the starting zone. Warcraft reference. Haha, laugh.
Because the gene seed, the sci-fi organs that get injected into you to turn a person into a Space Marine,
Not really injection, more like operated into, but sure.
in some way interfaces with an inextricably male part of the body in such a way that all female aspirants would immediately reject the gene seed and would therefore die. That's it. That's
Yeah, clear and cut. Not really that will explain, but sure, clear and cut.
the lore justification. I have given it the lip service it needs, and I'm going to spend the rest of this section of the video demonstrating how it's not really relevant to the discussion at hand. By the time the second edition of Warhammer 40,000...
I like that I can look at his sunglasses and I can see what's in his robe. Again, another reason not to post your face online. You know how easy it would be for somebody that knows and cares enough to use the reflection in his sunglasses to find where he lives? Never. And this is a very good tip that I'm like repeating on this video because it makes sense. Never show your face online. Not like this. And clearly not with sunglasses like those, okay? That's such a bad idea. Don't do this. Never do it. You're leaving yourself open to bad actors to mess with you. It's just a stupid idea you should never do. But seeing with the kind of people we're dealing with, stupid is what they deal with.
released, Games Workshop was still a relatively small company that still needed to save as much money in as many places as it could. The glory days of the late 90s and...
I like where this is going and I have something prepared for that. let's continue watching because I have something for this.
And early 2000s, which would only be beaten later by the glory days of the mid 2010s up to now, were still very far in the future for what was still a fledgling game studio and miniatures manufacturer. According to Alan Merritt, who was the...
Yes! I'm acting like this because Alan Merritt is like such a stupid argument. The guy contradicts himself. He goes like, oh, Space Marines were always a thing. We made them here. It doesn't matter that the name doesn't fit and what's on them doesn't fit with what was Space Marine units back then. But then he goes like, oh no, they were never planned. In universe, in house, there where we worked, we know those weren't a thing. So which is it? I like how they use Alan Merritt. Alan Merritt is like such a moron. And to use him is such a moronic idea. You're just making your argument look bad.
The design manager at GW during this era, throughout the early to mid 80s, GW tried to make upwards of 25% of their miniatures female. So if they released a set of wizard or barbarian or ancient Roman or whatever miniatures, they try to make at least some of the models in every single set female. However, these female miniatures didn't sell nearly as well as their male counterparts, and so eventually retailers asked them to stop sending female models that nobody was buying. The idea of spending the time and money to create some female miniatures in every single set that ultimately not that many people would buy just didn't make financial sense at the time. So they stopped making them.
Yeah, because the lore wasn't as established. There was no reason to get a random woman as a random woman warrior or wizard. Why would I buy that out of the blue, you know? Once the lore gets established for something, you can add it in and blah, yada, yada. Duh. That's how it works.
In the Rogue Trader era, this was a conspicuous but largely unaddressed absence. The mail order catalog system at the time financially incentivized...
Oh yeah, mail order catalog. Remember when Games Workshop didn't try to modernize the world and you had to send in like a piece of what you wanted with money in it and they would send it back to you using the postal system? The postal system. God, that sucks. But that's true for most state-sponsored systems or state-owned systems.
Devised GW to just make as many miniatures as they could, and so a lot of female miniatures still slipped through the cracks like the ones we discussed previously. However, as articles in White Dwarf and future rules supplements and eventually full-on new editions and games would be rolled out, a desire to address that absence was palpable. Over time, the current idea of all-male Astartes came into being. 1988's White Dwarf issue 98 is the first time Space Marines are explicitly stated to be all-male.
Yeah, nice. That's cool.
The 1989 boxed game Space Marine would...
I think, is this the Space Crusader one? I do have it at home. I have all the minis for it and things. It's in German. If it's Space Crusader, I can't really tell the difference nowadays. But I do have it at home. It's a pretty nice set. The minis are decent, I guess. Not like they were in like 7th edition, but you know, still works. Still looks like Space Marines and Orcs and Gene Stealers. And Chaos Necrons. I do have 2 of those cool Dreadnoughts though. Those Chaos Dreadnoughts. Yeah, I care more about that than whatever his argument is. His argument is stupid anyway.
Also introduced the concept of Primarchs. Later rulebooks and lore editions would then make the connection that Space Marines are all male because of the Primarchs. Their male genetics were the basis for the creation of the gene seed organs.
He puts something here and it's kind of stupid because you don't see it thanks to the pause button, but it reads like this excuse makes even less sense now because we know that the Primarchs had a mom named Erda who provided... Okay.
So ipso facto, you need to
Who provides something, genetic material, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're still men.
be male to properly receive them. It was lore that calcified slowly over the first couple years of Warhammer 40k's existence, largely as a post hoc justification for why Games Workshop didn't want to make models that they didn't think would sell as well. That's the actual reason why Space Marines are all male. It's not because of biology or because GW wanted to tell a story about martial brotherhood.
I mean, martial brotherhood and stuff like that, that's a pretty good story. And they've been telling it for a while. Two more or less efficient ways. I mean. Horus Heresy is a very good story about that one. Huh, I wonder where the female custodians were during the whole Horus Heresy thing. Who knows? Nevertheless, it's a pretty good story to tell. Who cares if it's directly like that or inadvertent? Still pretty cool. Reminds me of that book with the Crusaders that get kidnapped by aliens, and then the Crusaders just take over the ship and go in crusading in space. That's a pretty good book. And a nice inspiration for Warhammer. You should probably read it. It's better than watching this video.
Good.
And when I say this video, I mean mine, and any video that really talks about Warhammer's gender problem.
Or that any of the writers over in Nottingham agree with your bizarre esoteric concept.
The idea of father passing on ideas to son, a glorious legacy to preserve at all costs against demons spewing from the warp to destroy all you hold dear, has absolutely nothing to do with being male only. You know, that's a pretty interesting theory. That's a pretty interesting way of putting it. You don't think there is some masculine or good trait to be had that men can engage with and enjoy in this fictional setting with the Space Marines? For better or worse, many men are told by their fathers and by society to defend their family. True. What Space Marines do is make noble that kind of value for men. Defend your people at any cost. Pretty cool. There are a lot of narratives that can be pulled from Space Marines that are important to people that are mostly, if not exclusively, male. True. There's a bunch of things you can take from the Space Marine stories. Any of them, to be honest. Be it the betrayal of values and traditions and screwing up yourself. Being how sometimes leadership is bad. Being how sometimes the government is evil. Be it that sometimes brotherhood is needed to triumph over bad things happening and stuff like that. Yeah, Space Marines are pretty nice. From a storytelling perspective, they can do. Just because you do not see it or do not value it does not mean it cannot be valuable to others. True. Hey, the guy is pretty right.
About the inherent warrior spirit essential to masculinity.
It is. The lack of it creates people like you. And people like you is what we should avoid having. I'm gonna be direct with you. No, we shouldn't have people that cry about genders and fucking war games. Oh no, there's not enough female spacemen. They shouldn't be in the first place. They're not there to begin with. They shouldn't be in the first place. The fact that they might add them later, because they will probably add them later. Let's have an honest talk. Fuck this video. Let's have an honest talk. We have femme custodies. We're gonna have female space marines at some point. Who cares? I say who cares because, in my opinion, let Games Workshop burn. If I want, I can play my Horus Heresy game with whatever miniatures I choose, with the rules that I can get my hands on. What's the point? If Games Workshop doesn't respect its lore, its customers like as it should, then let it burn. If this is the kind of customer Games Workshop wants to get, let them get them. At the end of the day, we can still enjoy Warhammer as it should be, with 7th edition rules and Horus Heresy rules, and not with anything post 7th edition. Or hey, we might even enjoy it proper, like 3rd edition. I think that 3rd edition is an interesting aspect. It's an interesting thing. And I think the Red Thirst there is more interesting than, charging +1 attack and strength to your abilities. So yeah, female Space Marines, they're gonna come at some point. It might be later on. True, it might be further later on. But it doesn't matter. We can always play better games. Always better editions even. And you don't have to Nah, I'm just gonna be alright and say it. This guy's wrong. There's no gender problem. That's it. Any other argument is stupid. Trying to spend 50 minutes to talk about it is stupid. Me trying to debunk it for like 50 minutes again is stupid. No, screw that. There is no gender problem in Warhammer. I think that's a good way to start it. That's a very good way to start it. I would normally ask for likes, comments, and subscribes. But I'm gonna be honest. But I wouldn't do it myself.